Good morning, afternoon, evening, hello, wherever this finds you in the world. Thank you for taking the time to join what we hope will be the first of many Justis yearly or annual reviews. This is the annual update webinar for 2019. My name is Aidan Hawes. I am Head of Commercial Development for Justis. I've been with the company 5 years and work alongside our Managing Director, Masood Garami, to further the commercial development of the business. Part of that, I work closely alongside both our editorial and development teams, and therefore hopefully I'm pretty well set to be able to update you on exactly what happened throughout 2018 as a company. The purpose of the webinar today is to inform and explain the work undertaken and the decisions made by Justis over the 12 months throughout 2018. Important to us as a company is that we are transparent with our decisions and ideas, and to ensure that we engage with our customers on a daily basis. Hopefully this annual update webinar will be another way that we are able to do that. Whether you are listening to this in New Zealand, in the US, in the Caribbean, or back home in the United Kingdom with me, your interest will hopefully surround common law jurisdictional coverage, and that is why you are interested in what we at Justis are doing. Of course, some of that I cover today will be relevant to you. Hopefully most of what I cover today will be relevant to you, but some will be more relevant than others. But all of this is aimed to enhance your interactions with Justis as a company, and I hope you feel that we do so today. So covered today, and to begin with, we're going to look at our 2018 overview. We're going to look at what our aims were and some statistics to support those aims, and really where we got to throughout the 12 months of 2018. Secondly, we're going to look at content. And specifically here, we're looking at content that was added to the service and changes that were made, and whether that be through third-party agreements or whether that be through the work that's undertaken by our editorial and production staff here. Thirdly, we're going to look towards the technological developments and advances to the Justis One platform that we made throughout 2018. And lastly, there'll be an insight into 2019 itself, offering a brief overview of the main criteria as to what we're looking forward to and the themes that we'll be running with in 2019. So firstly, I really want to talk about a bit of history of Justis and where we got to begin January 2018. So you may or may not be familiar that prior to Justis One, Justis as an organization most recently ran two services alongside each other, Justis and JustCite. Justis itself was a case law library, similar to other services offered online. It offered little in terms of technology to enhance research, but was an excellent platform for you to be able to go to and gain access to case law or legislation of interest. JustCite itself was something slightly different. It was the world's first and only neutral legal citator, but by its nature, by being a citator, there was no full text. What JustCite did was it linked through or acted as a single point of entry to multiple full text services, at the maximum 120 different online services to enable you to find full text. And alongside that, it showed you key relationships surrounding case law and legislation from a multitude of jurisdictions. But both of those had their downfalls. Justis without technology didn't enable you to conduct thorough comparative research, and JustCite without full text was limited by the resources that it could show you by not having full text itself. So what could be done to improve our user's journey and outcome on a Justis product? And we felt that the decision should be to create a new service. The decision was made to create a platform which combined the positive elements of both of these services and bring together the library of Justis and the functionality of JustCite to extract more information and content and put it all through one service. We therefore believed, and still do to this day, that at the 1st of January 2018, where this webinar really takes off, is that the future was Justis One. Justis One was released in the summer of 2016. And it fast became the product that most of our customers were utilizing, and it was the sole product that was being utilized as a resource for new customers to the Justis platform. That being said, however, due to the complexities of some of our subscriptions and the huge plethora of content that we offer, we were unable to migrate all users straight away to the Justis One service. So 2018 was a migration year for Justis. And when I talk about migration, what I mean is migrating from the legacy products for our current customers onto the new flagship platform, Justis One. So as an indication as to how we went about this, in January 2018, only 17% of our customers used Justis One. We were migrating people as early as the beginning of 2017. But again, as I mentioned, due to the complexities of some subscriptions, not everyone was able to move at what was their preferred date, of course, their renewal date. Moving throughout 2018 and through the hard work of all my colleagues here back at Justis, I can now say that 99% of our customers are using Justis One. So of course, you can see from that that our focus was migration, and I'm hoping that you can see from the figures that I set out in front of you that a lot of work has been done into going. You would, however, be disappointed to attend this webinar and see that all we had done was migrate people from one service to the other. And from my perspective, it would be a very short webinar for you to undertake. So I'm pleased to say that we'll be covering a number of different factors. And I want to just highlight a couple of key statistics moving from 2018 through to 2019 that also were undertaken at Justis. So as a company, outside of the third-party agreements that we went into, we added over 1,000 new cases monthly. We sold or renewed to organizations, both academic and professional, in 43 countries worldwide, all from our HQ in Camden. We entered into 2 exclusive partnerships and were chosen as the exclusive partners for both a Caribbean and a New Zealand content database, and I'll cover them shortly moving forward. And we added additional resources to both customer support and account management, and also additional resources to editorial staff. Now, there's a wide spectrum of different statistics that are offered there, but the bottom 2 are, from my perspective as the head of the commercial side of the business, fundamental into ensuring that we have the strongest and most professional relationship we are able to offer to all of our customers. We were aware that throughout 2018 being a migration year, that the requirement of support of users on a new service and the requirement for training of users on a new service would be higher, and we have additionally resourced our customer support and training teams to do so. We also chose to bring more of our editorial work in-house, and our editorial team who work remotely from Ireland and Northern Ireland have been enhanced to be able to do so. So the first question you're probably asking is, what does this mean for you? You as a customer, you as a potential customer, or you as a party interested in Justis? What it means, hopefully, is that you will agree with us that Justis One is the way forward. We at Justis are committed to our continued development and improvement of Justis One as a legal resource, and to continue to ensure that Justis remains at the forefront of innovation for case law research. We feel that Justis One is a different way of thinking about case law research and the databases which we use as practitioners and as users to perform research. Justis One focuses on the split between collections of judgments and series of law reports, and the power that judgments hold from a research perspective. It also focuses on comparative research and how authorities and points of law are linked together, not just in one jurisdiction, but in a multitude of jurisdictions. It is the understanding that a single case or a single statute from a research perspective for many is rarely a standalone piece of material, and that links and complex relationships need to be easily defined and explained. That is what we feel and hope that Justis One achieves, and something which we further worked on in 2018, and of course will continue to work on in 2019. So talking more specifically, there are 2 main elements to the Justis service, of course, the content and the technology. And whilst I'll be moving through to do a live presentation or demonstration of some of the technological advances, I just want to talk about a number of the content partnerships and additional content that was added to the Justis service. The first is carry law. Carry Law was an organization, or is an organization, based at the University of the West Indies in Barbados. And it is a website that collated judgments from Caribbean islands and housed them on one online platform. Carry Law were looking for a provider, a commercial provider, to house all of their content. And fortunately for us at Justis, we were chosen specifically due to our knowledge and experience of the Caribbean sector itself, but also on a wider scale with our collections of common law case material. The partnership between Justis and the universities of the West Indies started in November 2017, and with Earnest, we started migrating all of our users who benefit from Caribbean content onto the service throughout 2018. This added 45,000 cases dating back from 1950, covering 18 Caribbean jurisdictions, and complemented our existing Caribbean collection that we had from a number of jurisdictions, but not to the same degree as the Carry Law collection could offer. We now, as an organization, offer 53,000 cases from the Caribbean community, which is the largest collection of Caribbean case law available anywhere online. This is not only an exceptionally useful resource for those in the Caribbean to be able to access case law in a way that they had never have been able to before, but also to the wider world, specifically those interested, of course, in Caribbean law, but in offshore and tax law as well, as there are a number of key jurisdictions housed within the Caribbean that concentrate on those. The second is our collection or partnership with TLR, the Law Report in New Zealand. The TLR partnership is again an exclusive partnership. TLR is a company from Auckland in New Zealand that concentrate and specialize in the selection and processing and reporting of New Zealand judgments from the higher courts. So whilst this is not a judgments collection similar to that of Carry Law, it's an equally important partnership for this jurisdiction within the world. It is around 5,000 cases from 2012, and as I mentioned, it is editorially driven. So every case is selected by a team or a board, similar to the head noting process taken in the United Kingdom. A summary is written, and this is housed alongside our content on Justis One. The TLR agreement and the New Zealand content complements our collection of law from other common law jurisdictions. And it also particularly benefits from links to UK law as a jurisdiction, because New Zealand as a jurisdiction still regularly looks towards authorities from the UK. And there are very few places online where you have the functionality that Justis One would offer to bring these two cases alongside each other. The third and final import of content onto Justis One throughout 2018 was not new content. It was content that was originally housed on the Justice Service. And this was our European Union and human rights content, both case law, but also legislation as well. This was a migration process similar to that of migrating accounts from Justis and JustCite to Justis One. And the reason that this wasn't migrated at the same speed or at the same rate as our other case law content was twofold. One is because of the complexities of EU law in itself, and the second was due to the vast quantity of content and cases that would be moved over. So as you can see from here, it is over 570,000 documents across the 10 sectors of EU law which were migrated, which was a huge undertaking for our internal teams to take. And I think we took the conscious effort to delay and slow the process of migrating this content because EU data has for a long time been considered a research minefield. For those that don't specialize in EU law, it is a daunting task to enter into a database of over 500,000 cases, to try and find an authority of interest for them. We feel, however, that the way in which we added this to Justis One has developed an intuitive database of EU law. We house, and one of the huge advantages, again, of housing the European Union law alongside our domestic case law is that it is housed alongside each other. It's also researchable, not just alongside each other, but you can actually research and comparatively research with complementary case law from jurisdictions such as the UK and Ireland. The user can see EU materials alongside legislation and implementing SIs. So for example, a user now on the Justice One platform will be able to see how a UK case has gone from the Supreme Court, for example, to the European Court of Human Rights, or how an EU directive has been implemented in a jurisdiction's legislation. For example, how implementing SI has been brought into force in the United Kingdom. So they are the three core areas of content that have been added to the Justice One platform. As an overview, I'm sure you can imagine or assume that through those undertakings of the three new collections, this was all that was undertaken at Justice. But I'm pleased to say that alongside that, we've also been continuing and maintaining our daily work of cleaning over tens of thousands of documents. And our editorial team have been working tirelessly to identify and mark thousands of new relationships between cases, not just within one jurisdiction, but across jurisdictions as well. One of the huge benefits to Justice One. So as a year and as an area of the business, we are exceptionally proud that we have added these three new collections to Justice One and imported over 650,000 documents to the new service. So that really brings to end the second point of our webinar, the content phase. And of course, that brings us on to features. Now, it's worth just recognizing here that Justice as an organization, through the heritage that we have of 33 years of business, is recognized as, quite rightly as well, as a publisher of legal content and also as a technology company. The battle is often between adding new content and adding additional functionality. The priorities are difficult to balance, and of course, opinions, as you can imagine, will differ on whether technological advances or additional content is more important. Our philosophy is that both in their own right are important. But like Justice and JustCite, both of those individually are limited. We therefore ensured that throughout 2018, whilst adding vast amounts of content, that we also continue to develop our technologies for which we are world renowned. And this really takes me into a live demonstration of the service, where I'm going to take you through some of the big changes that were encountered in 2018 and some of the main work in which the development team was working on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lead you through the left-hand control panel here, which highlights some of the key features of what we have been focusing on. And the first is the screen in front of me, which is the new Justice One dashboard. Now, I don't have an example to show you, but for those of you that were users of Justice One throughout the earlier stages of 2018, will remember that the homepage was a relatively basic homepage, intentionally so to begin with, of 4 boxes that collated history and useful resources. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, it's exceptionally important for us as an organization to listen to the feedback that we receive from our customers around the world and to develop where possible accordingly. And that's exactly what we did here. So in front of you, you will see the new homepage. This is split into an overview, history, and alerts, which is something which I will come on to shortly. The homepage is separated or sectioned into 3 levels or 3 horizontals. And you can see that it is designed in a similar format to a popular movie streaming service by the use of tiles. The more tiles or the more searches that you have conducted, the more the tiles will be formatted to make them fit onto the page. Huge benefit for this is that on a daily basis, it is very rare that one person researching will be researching one particular element of law or one particular case, and therefore having this all at hand for you to be able to go back to is exceptionally beneficial. And this was the feedback that we received and have implemented in the way that we have. So at the top, you will see your last search results. It catalogues any search result that you have gone into and offers you those results. By clicking on the arrow on the right, I can see any of the results that I've looked at in a chronological order. And below there, you will see the recent documents. For any recent documents to show up, this is when I've conducted a search and then subsequently clicked into one of the entries to be able to see recent documents. And as we scroll to the bottom of the page, you will see the welcome information. Now, the welcome information is not just for those people who are coming to Justice One in a first instance, but it is for people who are unfamiliar with certain elements of Justice One or would just like reminding of Justice One and exactly what it can offer them. The About page links nicely through to our brochure of the coverage that is available through Justice One. As I'm sure you can understand and imagine from my conversations surrounding content, there is a huge or a vast quantity of jurisdictional content that is available on Justice One, but also a large number of reported series that are available. And therefore, just being able to go through to the Justice One coverage and establish exactly what you are looking across is very useful. Secondly, you see information about the search, and in particular, the Boolean search operators supported on Justice One. Now, whilst Boolean search operators are a relatively standardized element of research services, there are, of course, differences on each individual platform, and therefore it's important from our perspective to show these to you at the earliest possible opportunity. Third is the personalized training section. Now, every single customer or every single account that subscribes to Justice Services is eligible for complimentary training, whether that be through face-to-face webinar or trainer session or an online webinar like I'm running for you today. Our legally trained editors will take you through the service, any changes to the service, and we can edit and adjust training sessions dependent on the exact needs of the people who are attending the service or session at that time. And lastly is the Get Certified tab, which links you through to the Justice One Proficiency Test. The Justice One Proficiency Test may initially be considered to be an academic tool for students within their research. However, it is widely used across the world as a tool for both professionals and academics in their personal development and understanding of online legal resources. I know firsthand from my experiences with dealing with customers and with other publishers around the world how varied and how different the services are that we offer, and also how many different services are available to practitioners through different law firms or barristers' chambers or government departments, but also through academic institutions as well. And to have a proficiency or a certain level of proficiency on each of these is going to be exceptionally useful for moving forward. We encourage anyone to take the proficiency test. Anybody that does take and passes the multiple choice, a 30-question multiple choice survey will receive a certificate on passing, but also a distinction if they were to get 100% out of all of the 30 questions. So that is the homepage, and it's something that we have iterated on dependent on the research that we have undertaken with our customers and the feedback that we have received. And this will work organically for the user to update and to change to make it most relevant for them as they move forward. Now, moving down the navigation bar on the left-hand side, one of the big undertakings that our development team looked at for 2018 was the advanced search. Now, the advanced search was something that was always available on Justice One, but not quite in the complexity that we now offer. And again, this is something that we have changed through the feedback that we have received from our customers around the world as to how they are used to and prefer searching on research services. So everything that is conducted within the advanced search, it is possible to do so in the quick bar at the top. But for those who would like to break down their search even more, they can do so not only in the All tab, but also in cases, legislation, or whether you were searching for EU materials. Now, I'm just going to do a very quick search in one of these for you to be able to establish exactly the benefits. I mean, if I go back into cases itself, what you will notice is there are a number of color-coded boxes on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we have access to select or deselect the content that is available to us. Now, as a subscriber, this will be different dependent on what individual products you subscribe to. And if you hover over the eye, if you do not have a subscription to the product, it will tell you, and therefore, unfortunately, you won't be able to look at that particular item. If, for example, on this search, I wanted to look for just UK cases, I can deselect all of the law reports, deselect the judgment collections, and choose to search for just a United Kingdom case. I can say that using our Boolean operators, I want to look for the phrase of duty of care. And I can say that I'm specifically interested in duty of care in regards to family law. I can also say, for example, that I am interested in cases that are from 2002, potentially because of one that I know or one that I am familiar with. And if I search, what that will do is that will bring me back the cases that are relevant to me. Now, I've mentioned a large number of times already as we move through the quantity of case law that is available on Justice One, but being able to search in the way that the advanced search or the way in which it populates in the top here in the search bar enables you to do is to look through all of that vast quantity of case law and return the most relevant results to you. So, for example, my search has returned the 28 cases that have duty of care as a phrase within their search, in the category of family law, and within the year of 2002 within the UK court system. Clearing my particular search and going back into advanced, you will notice that in the legislation search, the boxes that are available to you, or the individual search boxes, do change dependent on the fields that are more relevant for you to search for on a legislation search. You can search in here using the examples that are given. Say, for example, for a particular statute or an SI, you can search across the legislation that is covered, whether it be UK or Irish legislation. And if, for example, I just wanted to look for a UK Act, you will also notice that if I look through the reference field and type in for POCA, for the acronym of the Proceeds of Crime Act, it will return me straight to my Proceeds of Crime Act on the right-hand side. Now, clearing my search and going back through to our advanced search, the final search page that is available to us is the EU search. Now, again, something that is exceptionally complex for a number of people, myself included, to be able to navigate. We have tried to make this as searchable and as functional as possible. For example, the benefit to the user of being able to narrow down a particular sector of EU law that is of interest for them, and the titles or fields that are most of interest for them when they're looking through a EU law or directive or a case of relevance for them. So, for example, if I looked for the second banking directive, you'll notice that it takes me straight through. Now, I am far from an expert in EU law, but in fact, I was told that the second banking directive doesn't even include anything to do with second banking or refer to it in any way. So it's something that stuck with me through my searching when demonstrating EU case law. Now, going back to the main homepage, the third thing that I want to cover, and the third drop down on the navigation bar on the left-hand side, is our browse. Now, I want the opportunity to show you browse now, but I will also, at the very end of the demonstration, come back and show you our browse functionality that we intend to move forward with in 2019. So our browse functionality enables you to look at areas of law, either broad or narrow, ones you are familiar with or ones that are brand new to you, and we will return the cases relevant to the search. So our browse functionality uses the world's largest legal taxonomy of over 1.5 million terms and key phrases. Now, the taxonomy is available and working across all search functionality on Justice One, but the browse is really the most obvious place that surfaces this technology for you to be able to see. What this does is it categorizes each and every case that is available on Justice One into areas of law dependent on the content within the body of the text, and it enables you to drill down and search from broad areas of law to narrow areas of law. For example, if I wanted to look at contracts law, what you will notice is when I click on contracts law, it opens up subsequent or separate areas of contract law for my interest. If I say it specifically contracts themselves within contract law I want to look at, again, you will notice that the third layer or tertiary layer will show me all of the different elements that you can look at for contracts themselves. And I may know that it is a commercial contract that is of interest for me. Now I can keep digging down, and in places you can go 9 or 10 levels deep to find very niche areas of law that are relevant to you. But if I was to click find cases, for example, what this is doing for me is it returning cases on commercial contract law that is of interest for me in the jurisdiction that is relevant. Now that browse functionality takes me on to something else that we have been working on at Justis throughout 2018, and that is our filtering of results. Now again, this really stems from the vast amount of content that is available on Justis 1. And being able to subsequently filter results without having to go back if you haven't found the case that you were looking for through the search that you've initially conducted. And if I click on filter results, what you'll be able to see is that there are 3 main filters available to me. So for example, I can say that out of either case law legislation or EU materials, I just want to look at case law. I can then filter by the jurisdiction that is of relevance for me. So this is automatically set as a default to my current jurisdiction settings, but I can say that I just want to look for a specific jurisdictional content. And within here, I can also say that alongside the law surrounding commercial contract, I can say that it is commercial contract within energy law that is of interest for me. And what you will be noticing is that this has repopulated and researched my results by an algorithm that we put in place here at Justis to establish that out of my filtered search, there are 51 cases that are from the UK that refer to commercial contract and energy law, and they are the most relevant for me to look at as I move forward. Now, as you can see, what that really shows is that we've been working on particularly the front end of the service in terms of from a user's perspective. We are aware that having a database that houses so much content, the search functionality is fundamental to being able to find what you're looking for. Once you have found what you're looking for, it is also fundamental that you are able to go back and find those cases as easily as possible. And we have done everything in our power throughout 2018 to make that an easier process. Now, that doesn't for 1 second mean that we are finished. Of course, we're not finished. We will continue iterating on the homepage that you see and the alerting functionality that I'll show you shortly to enhance the usability of the platform. And the final thing that I want to show you before we move on to what is new for 2019 and what is coming really pinpoints and demonstrates that. So if I clear my current search here, one thing that was fed back to us throughout 2018 was that our advances for case law weren't inclusive of some of the legislation that we had on Justis 1. The facts being that some of the things that you were able to do from a case law perspective, you couldn't do from legislation. And we took it upon ourselves, and our development team took it upon themselves to make legislation a more functional and usable element of the service on Justis 1. So for example, if I was to look at the Human Rights Act of 1998, what you will notice, and for those of you familiar with Justis 1, is that on the right-hand side now, we show you the overview of a statute or SI where relevant. This is something that was unavailable before, but I'm sure, as you can imagine, and as the feedback came through to us, that statutes from any jurisdiction are long with a number of sections, and it's very useful to be able to see the overview. So the overview was added. If we click in the title, what it does is it takes us through to the piece of legislation itself. And there are 2 additions to legislation that were added towards the end of 2018. The first is to have access to the outline within the context of the statute itself, being able to look through and see the different elements or different sections of a statute. And the second is to offer the latest revision. Now, all of the legislation that is housed on Justis 1 is housed as enacted in its original format. And whilst we show any amending items or amended items, it is always useful to be able to link through to what is considered the latest revision. Now, whilst we don't say that this is the current consolidated version of legislation, we link through to legislation.gov.uk. Legislation.gov.uk is a free resource based in the United Kingdom for legislation of the United Kingdom itself, and it houses the latest revisions of statutes. Now, obviously, as a free resource, we cannot guarantee that this is always up to date, and we do not take any liability by sending you forward saying that this is the most up to date. But what we can show you is the latest revision available through that platform, something which is a huge time-saving tool for people within their research. It is also something that, unavailable on JustCite, works towards some of the functionality that we brought forward from JustCite. Now, as a citator, we always used to link out and show you where cases were available online. But obviously, we didn't have access to lead you through to the full text of those cases on the platform. Likewise, with legislation, we didn't have the ability to do the same. And whilst we still link out to legislation.gov.uk, bringing the full text in-house just enhances the usability somewhat for the user. Now, that completes everything in terms of what we covered and the main projects that we worked on and features that we worked on for 2018. One feature that we were finalizing towards the very end of 2018 was the alerting feature. And the alerting feature is something that, again, available on Justis, is something that we've been working on moving forward, which will be released to our customers in early 2019. And I just want the opportunity to be able to demonstrate exactly what our alerting functionality will allow the users to do. So if I go back into the My Justis tab that we looked at earlier, you will have noticed that the third tab at the top, just below the search bar, is alerts. If I click in here, you will see some alerts that I have populated. The alerting enables you to look at alerts on jurisdiction, on court, parties' names, or category or keyword search as well. You can save these alerts. You can choose the frequency as to how they are delivered to you. They are sent at 7 a.m. UK time in an email, whether that be daily, weekly, or monthly, and they will keep you up to date on particular areas of law of interest for you, whether that be through a research perspective or whether that is from a jurisdictional search to see which cases are going through the courts. It is as easy as toggling on and off particular searches of interest, highlighted by the jurisdictional flags here, or for example, I can go into the courts and filter by my jurisdiction to say that I want to look at British Columbia and the courts covered in British Columbia to be able to alert on this. Likewise, if I wanted to set up an alert from a search, my Human Rights Act search of 1998, below the search bar again, there's a Setup Alert tab, which will enable me to set up an alert. And as you say, this will be sent through to my address, aidan.hawes@justis.com, enabling me to change the name of the alert, the subject line, and the frequency as to which I would like this sent through. Now, I mentioned briefly earlier that the alerting functionality and many of our other features that you see on the Justis One platform will be developed as we move forward. Now, we are happy with the comprehensive alerting functionality that we will release to our customers, but of course we are always trying to develop and improve, and therefore as we move throughout 2019 and beyond, we'll be looking for additional things for us to be able to do with alerting. And that leads me into what we are doing in 2019 and some of the additional resources and functionality that we will be adding in 2019. Now, as I just quickly log into our preview service to enable you to have a sneak peek at something that we'll be releasing to our staff and subsequently to our customers in 2019, is a development to our browse functionality. Now, whilst our browse functionality is exceptionally useful at being able to navigate the complexities of the case law available on Justis One, again, through feedback, a number of our users had requested that they were able to browse across many different elements of the service. And what we enable the user to now do is exactly that. So first and foremost, you can toggle on or off whether you want to look at full text content or whether you want to use the JustCite and Justis One citator functionality to look at additional case law outside of the jurisdiction as well. But it enables you to narrow your search before you even go through to the main Justis One page and search elements itself. So I've selected that I want to just look at case law, and I can say that out of my jurisdictions, I just want to look at the Caribbean community of case law as well. What you will notice is, just like the search and browse functionality that I showed you on the live Justis One service, that it will narrow down dependent as you move through the different tabs to a more bespoke and more niche search for you. So I can look at the 53,000 cases available through the Caribbean community, or I can limit my search, for example, to Barbados, and the 3,215 cases available through Barbados. Now, whilst I've looked at jurisdictional coverage, I can then say that rather than court, I would like to look at a category of case law, And I can say that I'm interested in the 709 cases that are from the jurisdiction of Barbados within the Caribbean community that we have the full text of. And simply click on Show 709 documents, and as you'll see, it will bring back all the relevant documents for me. Now, this will enable users to really pinpoint specific searches for them, enabling you to drill down as far as a particular reported series in a particular year, referring to a particular area of law. Something that we were unable to do on Justis and JustCite, and also something that is unavailable on other services worldwide. So that is the browse functionality, and that leads me through really to the end of what we have looked at in 2018. 2019, so where does that lead us as a brief insight into exactly what we are looking to achieve in 2019? Whilst I'd love to sit here and give away all our secrets, that is not the intention of the webinar. But I can give you an indication as to what we are looking to do on a wider scale. So of course, importantly for us, with 99% of our users on Justis One, is to complete migration and decommission our legacy services. A date has been set for the end of March 2019 for the switch off of JustCite and for Justis users who don't have access to our parliamentary database. Just to explain that, our parliamentary database will remain on the Justis platform, and it will become solely available for parliamentary materials, and therefore for other users, Justis and JustCite will become inactive or decommissioned. We intend to continue enhancing both content and features on Justis One. We will be looking for additional partnerships to include and increase our Commonwealth coverage. And as I'm sure you can imagine and envisage from seeing the snippets of browse functionality and Justis One alerting, that we are really pushing forward with the functionality and technological developments at Justis as well. Now, most importantly to us and to myself specifically as head of commercial development is the opportunity to learn and become educated by our customers, and to spend time with them to further benefit them and further benefit all users of Justis. We are currently already attending events in Canada, Miami, Washington. We will be traveling to Australia, to New Zealand, a number of conferences in the United Kingdom and Europe. We will be continuing user groups, as many of them as we can, and our marketing and research and development teams will be doing more research and development and surveys than we've ever done before. And of course, it wouldn't be the 2019 year without BILE's 50th year. Our jurisdictional heritage, the UK Conference, the British and Irish Association of Law Librarians, is celebrating their 50th year, and we are delighted to be platinum sponsors of the conference and support them as they have supported us through our 33 years. Lastly, from me, it is a huge thank you to not only you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this, but also taking the time and offering your continued support to us as individuals and to Justis as a company. We wouldn't be able to achieve what we are achieving without any of your help and any of your support. And also to each and every one of the staff at Justis who work from the United Kingdom, from our remote teams in Northern Ireland, and our developer base in Australia, enable us to service customers worldwide with what we're doing. So huge thank you to them as well. If you have any questions, as I said, unfortunately, that's not something I can offer at the end of this webinar. So please feel free to contact me directly at aiden.hawes@justis.com, and I will do my best to help, or I will forward through any questions that you have to my colleagues to do so. It's been a pleasure demonstrating and talking through 2018 with you, and I look forward to speaking to you or seeing you as we move through 2019. A very belated Happy New Year. Thank you very much. Goodbye.